Hello everyone, it's Sean from YMC Camp Potawatomi. I have a special guest with us today. It's my wife Courtney from the Kendallville Public Library, and today we're going to learn about owls. Here's the story with Courtney.
Here we have a book called Owl Baby. Some of you might be super familiar with it. It's by Martin Waddell and illustrated by Patrick Benson. Once there were 3 baby owls, Sarah and Percy and Bill. They lived in a hole in the trunk of a tree with their owl mother. The hole had twigs and leaves and owl feathers in it. It was their house. One night they woke up and their owl mother was gone. "Where's Mommy?" asked Sarah. "Oh my goodness," said Percy. "I want my mommy," said Bill. The baby owls thought. All owls think a lot. "I think she's gone hunting," said Sarah. "To get us our food," said Percy. "I want my mommy," said Bill. But their owl mother didn't come. The baby owls came out of their house and they sat on the tree and waited. A big branch for Sarah, a small branch for Percy, and an old piece of ivy for Bill. "She'll be back," said Sarah. "Back soon," said Percy. "I want my mommy," said Bill. It was dark in the woods, and they had to be brave, for things moved all around them. "She'll bring us mice and things that are nice," said Sarah. "I suppose so," said Percy. "I want my mommy," said Bill. They sat and they thought. All owls think a lot. "I think we should all sit on my branch," said Sarah. And they did, all 3 together. "Suppose she got lost," said Sarah. "Or a fox got her," said Percy. "I want my mommy," said Bill. And the baby owls closed their owl eyes and wished their owl mother would come. And she came. Soft and silent, she swooped through the trees to Sarah and Percy and Bill. "Mommy," they cried, and they flapped and they danced and they bounced up and down on their branch. "What's all the fuss?" their owl mother asked. "You knew I'd come back," the baby owls thought. All owls think a lot. "I knew it," said Sarah, and "I knew it," said Percy. "I love my mommy," said Bill. The end.
Thank you, Courtney, for that awesome story. Now we're going to go into some interesting facts about owls. Right in front of me, we have 3 different types of owls that live in North America. And if you look closely, they have 3 different types of patterns on their feathers as well. First is the barred owl. Then we have the great horned owl. And then finally we have the western screech owl. Now that we talked about different owls that live in North America, we're going to talk about an owl that mainly is seen in northeast Indiana, which is their great horned owl. And we have one right here with its wings displayed for you, because they use their wings for what? Right, to fly. So they use the wings to fly. And why would they want to fly around? Right, to find their prey. So whenever they're flying around and they're using their wings, they have these nice smooth feathers. And whenever the wind comes down, it pushes under the feathers and carries it up so it can fly all around. Now when it's flying to find its prey, it needs to catch the prey, right? So in the back, you'll notice that it has talons. Now these talons are to catch their prey. So whenever it catches its prey, it needs to take it somewhere to eat its food. So when it catches the prey, it also uses its talons to hang up on a tree. So if you notice on these owls right here, they're all hanging on a tree, right? They're all perching up on a tree, okay? Because they need to live in a tree. Why would they want to live in a tree? Right, to stay away from their predators. Because all the predators are trying to get them, like foxes. So they want to stay away from the predators, stay up in the trees. But they also want to stay in the trees to find their prey. So whenever it catches its prey with its talons and it brings it up to the tree to eat it, it needs to use its beak right here to tear apart the prey so that it can eat the prey. All right. And now that we've looked at the beak, we're going to look at the eyes right next to it, and you can see that their eyes are really, really big. Okay. Now, owls' eyes don't move like human eyes, because our eyes can move around, right? We can move them all around. We also have peripheral vision, meaning that we can see all the way to the side of our body, so we can see everything in front of us. Now, owl eyes don't have peripheral vision. They only can see what's in front of them. So if you put your hands to the side of your eyes, that's what an owl can see. And so human heads can only turn 180 degrees. They can only turn all the way this way and all the way that way. But since we have peripheral vision, we can see what's behind us. Owl's eyes, if they were to turn 180 degrees, so if you put your hands on the side of your eyes and you turn 180 degrees, can you see everything on either side? No, because you don't have peripheral vision. So the owl's eyes need to turn their heads further. So an interesting fact about owls' heads is a lot of people say they turn 360, but that's not actually true. The true fact is they turn 270 degrees, so that it can see everything around its body. And why would it want to see things behind them? Right, the predators that are trying to hunt them. They want to make sure they can see everything around them so they know where their environment is. And also another fact is the owl's eyes are really big, right? So really huge. So if human had owl eyes, our eyes would be really big and they would kind of look like this. And doesn't that look silly? Would a human eyes, would I look weird if I walked around with this? Yeah, our eyes would be really big if we had owl eyes. So that's another cool fact about owls. Also, we have very big owls and we have very small owls. So one of our smallest owls is the elf owl, and it's about 5 inches tall, so about the size of a marker. You might have one at home, and it's also only an ounce, so it's very tiny and very, very small. We also have very big owls, like the eagle owl. It's about 28 inches big, so it's really big, and it also is about 8 pounds, so it's a very heavy owl as well. Now, owls, like I said, can be seen in North America, but they can also be seen in 6 other continents. There's only one continent that it cannot be found in. What continent do you think that is? Right, Antarctica, because it's too cold. Now, in their different environments, they have different patterns to their feathers, right? So they use the pattern of their feathers to what? Right, to blend in. So like your parents, they have camouflage when they go hunting. Well, owls, they don't need to wear camouflage because their feathers are already that camouflage. So they use that camouflage to blend in their environment. Now on this table right here, you're going to see some different environments that these owls have used to camouflage into to blend in with the environment. So go ahead and try and find all the owls in the different pictures. All right, did you spot some owls? So again, when you look in those environments, a snow owl, so that little white owl that you saw in there, is probably not going to be blending in with our environment here because we have a lot of sunlight and a lot of green grass, and the white owl is not really going to fit into our environment. It's going to stick out. But the great horned owl is going to fit in our environment because it has that more camouflage into our trees and our leaves so that it can hide from not only from the predators, but it also can hunt their prey. So those are some fun facts about owls, and now we're going to go into a arts and crafts with Courtney.
So today's craft, we'll be making owls. We're going to start with a big black piece of construction paper. That's our background. These are things that you might be able to find around your home. Then we've got brown paper cut out into the shape of a branch. We're going to crinkle that up to give it some texture. Crinkle, it's kind of the fun part. And then carefully open it back up. And then we'll take our big glue stick. Put the glue on the back side of our branch. Make sure you get all of those spots so that it sticks. Flip it over and push down. And then we're going to use a brown marker. You can use a crayon, paint, whatever you would like. We're going to give it some details. I'm going to start giving our branch some spots. And then we're going to draw some lines to give it a little bit more detail so it's not just a brown piece of paper. You can make it however you want. Then it's time to start our owls. So I've got a clothespin right here and a cotton ball, and that's going to be our paintbrush today. And I have white acrylic paint that I'm using, but you can use whatever you have around at home. And we're going to make our first owl. And remember in our story, our first owl was a little bit bigger, so we might need to make our owl kind of taller. And just dab, 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 all around, fill in those spots. Gives it a nice fluffy look. Baby owls are usually pretty fluffy when they're born. And eventually they'll lose that down and get feathers like the owls you saw from Sean today. We'll make our second owl. It's going to be just a little bit smaller. Keep pushing that paint around. It's kind of hiding behind our twig right there. And then we'll get a little bit more paint to do our baby owl. Our itty bitty baby owl. I think the baby's name was Bill in our story. So we need to let that dry a little bit, but there were some stars in our book. But we've got glow-in-the-dark paint. You could use glitter, you could use normal yellow paint, whatever you like. We're going to make some stars in the sky. It's always fun to stick our fingers in paint and get a little bit messy. So let's give that dark sky some stars. We're going to even put some down on the bottom underneath our branch, because our branch is not on the ground, so we might have stars showing all around. We'll stick a couple in between our owls and then wipe off that paint. Now our owls need some facial features. I already have them pre-cut and ready to go, but I used brown paper, black paper, and white paper to make our eyes. So we'll use the glue again to put one eye down. And what I found, it was a little bit easier if we do one eye, a beak, and I made a cone, but we're going to have the cone not facing up like this, we're going to have it facing down. Stick the beak in underneath, and then put the second eye on top. That's what I found to be the easiest, so that your end result makes it look like an owl. So we've got our first owl. Now we're going to give eyes and a beak to our second owl. You can use whatever color of paper you have, whatever you've got laying around at home. Oops. See, so I didn't put the beak on first. So it's a little bit trickier to slip that in and then scooch that eyeball over. Now we've got our last baby owl. Give him one eye and then the beak. Slide that in. And then do the last eye. Make sure when you're all done that you put that lid back on your glue stick. I know that your teachers would remind you of that, so you don't lose it. And here we have our owl picture. And if you do have glow-in-the-dark paint, you can hang that up in your bedroom and see the stars sparkling at night. Now we're going to head over to Sean with a really cool experiment. Thanks.
For our experiment today, we're going to dissect owl pellets. Now, it's a common misconception that owl pellets are owl poop. It is actually owl fur balls. Just like cats have fur balls, owls have fur balls too, and they're called owl pellets. Fun fact is that owls have two stomachs. So the first stomach gets all the meat, and then the second stomach collects all the fur and all the bones. Now we're going to go dissect an owl pellet. So as you can see, this is an owl pellet, so there's all the fur, and then if you open it up, so we have tweezers and a toothpick, and use those to open up the owl pellet to find different bones that are inside the owl pellet, because owls eat different kind of prey. So we're going to find different kind of prey inside this owl pellet. So as you can see, you can kind of see right here that there's a little bit of a skull that's starting to show. We're going to identify what kind of skull that is, or what animal that belongs to. So we're going to keep dissecting. We're going to look for different bones. Now, just like owls have bones, different rodents have bones as well, and they have different features to them that we can identify with, that we can find in an animal, like a mouse, or a mole, or a shrew. So as we pull stuff apart, we're going to find different bones. You can see that there's clumps of fur, because when they eat the different animals, and when they're in the stomach with all the fur, it starts to form together and create a ball, and it forms around all those bones as well. Alright, so we're starting to get this owl pellet nice and pulled apart, and we finally got to the main skull, which is the main area we're going to look at. And you can see that this is like a perfectly formed skull. Everything's put together still. You can see the jaw and the top of the skull and the eye sockets where the fur is mostly located. Okay, so we're gonna try and identify this skull to what animal it might belong to. So if we look at the chart, we have this cool little chart over here. So this chart right here identifies that bone with the different types of animals, and then this one just has all the bones combined for that animal. So we have some birds, we have some moles, some shrews, and some rodents. So if we look at this skull right here, and we try to identify it with the chart, which one do you think it fits in best with? You think it fits in with a rodent, a shrew, a mole, or a bird? Right, we're gonna go with a rodent probably, because you can see the similarities of the teeth up front and the eye socket. And then if you go further down, you can also see the jawbone and the tooth for the jaw as well. And you can actually see both sides of the jaw on the other side as well. So this is actually a pretty well-formed skull of a rodent, or maybe a mouse, some kind of rodent. We also have another bone right here. If you can see that. And there's another type of bone. Now if we look at the chart, we're gonna look down and we're gonna try and find what this bone matches to. And if we put it right over here, it kind of looks like it matches with one of the pelvic bones of either a shrew or a mole. So that's a pelvic bone. We also have another bone. This bone is very, very, very small. And you can barely see it. So if we put this bone down here, we're gonna kind of get it closer to this picture right here, because this is a vertebrae. So a vertebrae is like your spine. It's the backbone. And this is one piece of whatever animal's backbone, as you can see. Kind of cool, right? All right, so you can just keep dissecting and you're gonna see different types of bones that are all around inside an owl pellet. Now this owl pellet was store-bought. You're not gonna find these on the ground. They're harder to find. You might find one, but they're really hard to find an owl pellet on the ground. So if you do want an owl pellet, you will have to go online and try and find one. And that is dissecting an owl pellet. Thank you guys. Thank you for joining Courtney and I in our owl study. We'll see you next week. Bye guys.